What is instructional design? This is a question that many people are asked, and in this presentation we will answer the question. First of all, instructional design is the creation of instructional experiences which make the acquisition of knowledge and skill more efficient, effective, and appealing. So let's look at that in detail. The first part is instructional design is the creation of instructional experiences. These are experiences that a learner will go through to acquire new knowledge. The third component here is the desire to make the acquisition of knowledge and skill more efficient or effective or appealing. So let's talk in a little bit more detail about what instructional design is. Instructional design really includes three major components. First is the set of tools that an instructional designer works with. Second is the different groups of people that an instructional designer works with. And finally, instructional designers work within organizations. And so let's talk about each of these in a little bit more detail. Instructional designers generally work with three different types of tools. The first is instructional design process. So there are some known processes that an instructional designer goes through when creating instruction. These can include the ADDIE model or the systematic design of instruction, which is also called the Dick and Carey model. Instructional designers use these processes to help ensure that their instruction is created efficiently and effectively. The next tool is instructional theory, which offers guidance on how to help learners actually learn. And this theory actually informs what the instruction should look like, what types of strategies should be used within a unit of instruction. The final tool is physical tools. And so this can include technologies that an instructional designer uses. It can include something as simple as a pen and paper. It can include e-learning development tool. These are the types of tools an instructional designer uses. Now, instructional design becomes somewhat complex because you also work with people. And there are several different groups that an instructional designer typically works with. The first is their management. An individual's management has a very direct influence on how instructional design is performed. And so working with management effectively is key. Instructional designers also work with other instructional design team members. And depending on how an instructional design team is formatted or structured, it can really have a great influence on the type of work an instructional designer does and on the finished product that an instructional design team creates. Instructional designers also work with what we call SMEs, or subject matter experts. Very often an instructional designer is tasked with observing or interviewing a SME and finding out the best practices and strategies that these SMEs use in their work. The instructional designer will then take what they learn and create instruction that helps learners become more expert. The final group that instructional designers work with is the learners. And so an instructional designer really needs to know who their target audience is, what they already know, how they learn effectively, so that they can actually help the learners acquire the knowledge and skills that they desire. So the final component that we're talking about is the organizations that an instructional designer works in. Instructional design takes place in many different organizations, including the government, corporations, military, higher education, and even K-12 educational settings. And depending on where an instructional design is taking place, there are many different ways that it's actually implemented. Instructional design in the government is going to be different than instructional design that happens in a corporation. Same with higher education. The ways that instruction is approached is different than, say, in the military. And so all of these factors really have an influence on how an instructional designer works. And so hopefully this has helped to clarify what instructional design is. We will have more videos available for you later on so that you can continue to learn about instructional design.